Quick show of hands. Who has heard of AT&T here in Australia and New Zealand? Yeah. Oh, that's actually higher than I thought. We sometimes say that we're the best kept secret in the telco industry. So thank you all very much for your time. Very honoured and privileged to be here. What a fantastic event that he's and his team put together. I mean, the gathering of government, industry, university to really bring and international speakers, to bring very forward-thinking ideas and concepts to address a really critical aspect around IoT, security. I think it's critically important in terms of having these different industries and entities together to focus on this, because it's an ecosystem, it's a common problem across all of these different areas. So, as Sandra said, my name is Jason, you're from AT&T, and I'm going to share with you two things today. One is, what is AT&T doing in the IoT space? And I'm going to share with you some insights on a recent cybersecurity report that we specifically targeted to the C-suite. So I'm going to share some insights around that. So we've heard about all these stats, 50 billion connected things by 2020. I thought I would share a different take on that statistic. So when we break it down into smaller chunks and smaller pieces, in 2013, Cisco released this particular stat, 80 things connected for the first time every second. And then when we fast forward to 2020, what does it look like? 255 things every second, which is a huge amount of things coming on in 2020. But I think what this really highlights is the critical nature of needing to have a very strong cybersecurity posture and cybersecurity framework that integrates IoT into a holistic program. IoT has been around for a little while, but why all the hype? You know, connectivity and wireless technology has been around for many, many years. So why all this hype now? Well, because of the potential financial benefits. So this was a stat taken a couple of years ago, but if you look at it from a 1% perspective, these are the figures from an operational cost perspective that could have an impact on enterprise. And then when you think about Australia and where we are from a global perspective, and enterprises operating in that global environment, 1% can have a huge impact. In preparing for today's event, I looked at it from a cybersecurity aspect, and they presented it from a cost operational aspect. But what if we flip it around? This is potentially a huge cost to the business from a threat perspective. What if an enterprise was hacked and their systems and network and their operations went down? So it goes from being an operational cost efficiencies to a huge loss in potential revenue. So what is AT&T doing in the IoT space? AT&T's been in ANZ for nearly 20 years. We have over 360 staff across Australia and New Zealand, and we service large global enterprises headquartered here in Australia. So a large number of blue chip organisations which either you directly or your superannuation funds would have direct investment with. So we provide their networking connectivity as well as security and cloud services. Specifically in the IoT space, we have over 26 plus million connected devices onto our network. And what's really, really interesting is this particular stat, which is last quarter, we connected more cars than other devices to our network. So when we think about this rapid acceleration of moving from devices to things, it's happening today. These are some of the industry verticals that AT&T operates in and provides IoT services. Connected car is a big industry for us. We have nine of the top 14 auto car manufacturers connected to AT&T's global network, including the likes of Tesla, which we've got there. Connected home space. AT&T has a connected home product in the United States called Digital Life, which we are now launching internationally. And it's around a connected ecosystem of sensors in the home, security, camera, and water systems. The middle one, connected containers. So a couple of years ago, we started talking to a large shipping container company called Maersk. And they had a real world challenge of they didn't know their locations of their containers. They didn't know what was happening inside those containers. And so they were losing a considerable amount of money with spoiled goods and lost containers. And so we partnered with them to develop a system and technology and sensors to be able to not only capture what's happening inside the containers, but also where they're going. And what's interesting about that particular project is it wasn't just about connectivity, it wasn't just about security, but it was tackling issues such as, okay, when a boat's moving from the shore, which has got perhaps LTE connectivity, how are you going to have connectivity out in the oceans? How are you going to design a system and device that's going to withstand temperature, seawater, etc.? And so we partnered with some universities in the United States and with Maersk, and we developed this particular device. Our latest ecosystem of co-development is around smart cities. And so we see a direction now of discrete industry designs and systems, and now bringing them all together. And smart cities is something we've been working on, and we announced at CES early this year with IBM, Cisco, Ericsson and some other vendors around smart cities. And that's something that we're looking to launch around the United States. There was an interesting slide put up earlier around this hype curve of IoT. And Ethan spoke about a time to market. So we're at the height, we're about to go into the trough of disillusionment. But this real challenge of time to market, taking an idea and quickly developing it from prototype and then into production. So AT&T, as a typical large American and global telco, had a real challenge around taking ideas and rapidly taking them to market. So we addressed this a couple of years ago by creating what we described as our foundries. So these foundries, which we have 5 around the world, 1 in Tel Aviv and the remainder in the United States. And the whole concept of foundry is around partnering with universities. So we partner with Georgia Tech, amongst others. Partnering with other vendors, such as Cisco, Ericsson, Accenture. And really working with not only the big end of town, but the small little startups in terms of helping them take their idea, from an idea, rapidly prototype, and then bring it to market. So our foundries are actually true innovation labs. So we have 4G, we have cloud services, we have 3D printing, so we can really rapidly take an idea into concept. This one on the right, connected car, is a real first for the industry. So this is a standalone, dedicated studio for cars. So auto manufacturers can come in and test their systems, put in a global SIM, and test and determine and try and create a security posture environment where they're separating their telemetry data from third-party data. So we've spoken about what we're doing in the industry. We've spoken about how we rapidly prototype and innovate and bring agility into these ideas. The next area is around security, and security is, I think, is very front of mind for telcos, primarily because we're at the heart of the networking piece. And we provide the connectivity. And in AT&T's case, we've been doing this for over 130 years. And so we've got a rich history of understanding from the very basic telephone systems where you have people trying to hack into the central exchange, trying to make free international calls. And so over that time, we've built up a lot of IP and intelligence, from wireline to mobility, wireless, and now through to IoT. And so over that time, we've developed a number of industry-leading practices around big data analytics. We've got a number of security operations centres, and we've got over 1,000 cybersecurity experts. And this is important as we're moving into this new emerging technology, because I think it's inherent on the likes of AT&T and government and other vendors to come together and provide thought-leading direction around cybersecurity. I mentioned earlier at the start, AT&T undertook a survey. So we saw a particular trend around IoT security, namely that it wasn't particularly being addressed at the C-suite. And so we thought, okay, let's take a survey and let's really get a feel for what's happening in the marketplace and understanding from C-suites. And so we undertook this CIO and released it just recently, actually, CIO's Guide to Securing the Internet of Things. And I think what's really critical here is that it aligns to what we spoke about today, that security needs to be front of mind for not only for the technologists, but for the C-suite. So let me just share some insights. So just a quick show of hands. Who believes that Australian enterprises have a secure and robust IoT security systems and posture? Yeah. One. Thanks, Paul. So interesting, very much aligned to what we got back in our survey responses. So 90% of organisations feel they lack full confidence in their IoT security systems. And this is pretty scary when I read this particular stat. So AT&T, as I mentioned, we see a lot of data going across our networks, and we're regularly seeing what bad guys are doing out there. And over the last 2 years, we've seen over 458% in terms of increase in vulnerability scans, which is huge. So clearly the bad guys are looking to break into enterprises in some form or another. So what were some of the recommendations in terms of the C-suite? So the first one that we came back to the C-level and the C-suite is really assess your risk. So look at the security vulnerabilities from an IoT perspective. Think about mapping out your worst case scenarios. Think about determining whether you can isolate your IoT devices and the data. And I thought it was quite interesting, some of the early presentations where some of the research that we're undertaking here in Australia around looking to segregate trusted and untrusted environments right down to the chip layer. The second recommendation was secure both the information and connected devices. So think about that the need to consider device-related risk and security. So it's more than just now data. It's around thinking about operational security threats and the information security concerns. The third one is around aligning your IoT strategy and security. So Paul touched on his speech. You know, they dusted off their old security posture and their old security documents. It was related to SCADA systems and perhaps enterprise systems. There needs to be a focus, and there needs to be continued focus and alignment from the top down of the organisation right down through the business units and through to your cybersecurity teams. And then finally, identify legal and regulatory issues. IoT is, and as we've seen, is now including not only things, but things that are connecting to people. Pacemakers, Fitbits, connected cars. And so the consequences of an IoT device that is manipulated now to cause physical harm is going to provide not only challenges from an information breach, but from a personal risk and insurance perspective. So just wanted to say thank you very much for your time today. Shared some insights around what AT&T is doing around IoT and where we see the direction going. Shared some insights with our results of our security CEO report. I'll put the link up there, so you're welcome to download that and share that with your C-suites. But thank you very much for your time, and we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you.